Babies, little babies, they're a potato. Okay, they're like they're a burrito. You wrap them up in a blanket, you put them on the couch, you come back, they're exactly where you left them.
Mummy and Daddy need to change your nappy.
Are you aware that you have a poopy nappy? Clearly, I'm not. I just crawled down 2 flights of stairs, leaving a trail behind. I'm just going to call Elon Musk. I'd like to volunteer a couple of researchers to be on his very first mission to Mars.
Parents told to ask babies' consent for changing their nappy. I can't.
Let parents be parents, for crying out loud. This is such nonsense. Yes.
Researchers from Australia's Deakin University. Of course, it's Australian researchers.
How many kids do they have?
Probably none.
So here's the thing. Babies, little babies, they're a potato. Okay, they're like they're a burrito. You wrap them up in a blanket, you put them on the couch, you come back, they're exactly where you left them. Obviously, at that point, the consent is not possible because there's no comprehension. As they get older, yes, you want to work cooperatively with your kid, right? Of course you do. But if your kid is being stroppy and doesn't want their nappy changed, but their nappy needs to be changed, at no point should the kid be able to override the necessity for their nappy to be changed. Yes, every parent wants to be able to work cooperatively with their kids. You want your kid to move the leg here and do the right things to make it easy for you. Of course you do. But if your kid's not, the solution is not to say, oh, well, you haven't given me consent, so I better not do it, because I'd be teaching you the wrong thing about consent.
Can I read you this? Because this is so ridiculous.
Am I going to lose brain cells?
Yes. It's insulting.
I don't have many to lose.
So they wrote this for The Conversation, which is a far left
that says a lot.
thing. So experts have divided with the claim that parents should wait for consent before changing their child's dirty nappies. Researchers from Australia's Deakin University said that there is a lot of talk surrounding when to teach teenagers about consent issues such as appropriate. However, it should start much sooner, before they can even speak. The researchers claimed that as the nappy changing could be the perfect time to do this, when your child doesn't understand language. At the start of a nappy change, ensure your child knows what's happening, researchers say. Get down to their level and say, you need a nappy change, and then pause so they can take this in. This sounds like someone who doesn't have a child. But because the child's usually crying or carrying on or whatever. Anyway, I don't even have a kid and I know this. But their offbeat directives for cleaning a bub's bottom, a task that parents often rush just to get done, the researchers said don't end there. Then you can say, do you want to walk or crawl with me to the changing table, or would you like me to carry you? Said the specialist, seemingly ignoring that newborns can't actually chat up mum or dad one-to-one. Observe their facial expressions and body language to check if they understand what's happening. The experts further noted this can be a time to help children learn about consent and how their bodies work.
I'm just going to call Elon Musk. I'd like to volunteer a couple of researchers to be on his very first mission to Mars.
What an absolute privileged position you must be in to sit there and be able to debate something so fundamentally fucking dumb.
They are already on Mars. Like, their brains have already left this planet.
These people are utterly... This is the insane... These are the insane patients running the asylum. That's what this is.
Yeah. Look, any parent listening to that is sitting there going, I don't think you have even nieces or nephews, let alone kids of your own. If you're a researcher and if that's your idea in your head, what that sounds like is when you hear an idealistic soon-to-be mum or soon-to-be dad who has nothing but fantasy ideas about how great they're going to be as a parent, how amazing their family life is going to be. And then, of course, they get slapped by reality and the shit hits the fan literally sometimes. And they realize why their parents were the way they were, and all the things all the narratives they told themselves about how evil their parents were and how wonderful they were going to be fall apart.
Yeah.
That's the kind of language that is used by people that are completely disconnected from reality.
100%. It's like the ones who say that the child hasn't chosen their gender yet. They're mentally insane. That's what this is.
Yeah.
And I'm so sick of tiptoeing around this. Like, these people are fundamentally insane.
Yep. Listen, go have kids. Get back to me when you're in your 60s and then tell me about consent for kids and nappy changes, all right?
I would argue that all of this, like, helicopter parenting and all this, like, ridiculous nonsense around, consent, sure, I understand it from a teenager's perspective, but all this performative stuff when the child can't even formulate words yet and has no idea what you're doing.
And this fantasy idea that you have time.
Yeah.
That you have the ability to create these kinds of...
Because you're a parent and you've had this experience. I have not. Mm-hmm. I remember being a victim of one. Mm-hmm. A good old poo explosion.
Oh, yeah, punami.
A punami. Yeah. I remember being a child and having a punami of my own.
Yeah.
And my brother had put my Easter eggs in my cot. So it was a punami and chocolate nami. And this was in Japan where we had white carpets.
Oh, yeah.
And I had managed to get out of my cot,
Oh, yes.
crawl down two sets of stairs to sit on the couch where I fell asleep.
Oh,
Can you imagine the mess?
Your parents loved you that day.
My parents have never, ever let me forget that story. That story was brought up way too many times. So imagine that. You're in the middle of a punami crisis. There's shit everywhere. And thank God I've never experienced this, but I've heard enough about it to know.
We've never had one that bad, but that's...
Excuse me, Bubby.
Yeah.
Mummy and Daddy need to change your nappy.
Are you aware that you have a poopy nappy? Clearly, I'm not. I just crawled down 2 flights of stairs, leaving a trail behind me.
And I'm quite happy to sit in my shit because apparently I don't know any better.
But let's go further. So these fantastical ideas about how you're going to have conversations with your kids and no contact parenting and all this kind of stuff. Again, you're living in fantasy land. You're on a road trip. You're driving. Your kid has just gotten enough hand strength to figure out that they can now unclip their own seatbelt. All right? And now they won't stop undoing their seatbelt. What you going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to explain it. Okay, no, we have to get the seatbelt on. It's important, blah, blah, blah. And then they're going to keep doing it. And then you're going to start rousing on them, and you're going to start saying, this is a problem. You're going to start pulling over. You're going to start telling them there's no TV in the morning. You won't, you'll go to bed early. You can make all the threats you want. They keep clicking that thing open. Mm-hmm. There comes a point where there needs to be immediate consequences. There needs to be something for them to be afraid of right now because they're not afraid of the car crash.
Yeah.
They're not afraid of all the other stuff.
They have no concept of the car crash.
They have no concept of it. So you have to give them something that they have a concept of.
Yeah.
And that means Mummy or Daddy's going to give me a smack.
Yeah.
Right? There comes a point where you go, we cannot function as a family and we cannot keep you safe. Our responsibility is to keep you safe.
Yeah.
We cannot keep you safe if you don't actually follow our instructions. And if you're going to choose to be belligerent and not follow our instructions, then we're going to escalate through a series of things until we get to the point where the consequences are such that you change your mind.
Yep.
And that's that.
I agree. And I would argue that this new approach, this soft approach to parenting is why we now have 13-year-olds stabbing other children to death.
And why we have other 13-year-olds killing themselves.
Yeah. The whole thing is just preposterous.
So much of youth mental health now is actually a lack of discipline.
100%. Yeah. And it's also like... Look, I think a lot of this is personality based too. Some people have a little bit more mental fortitude than others. But if you don't have boundaries to push and rebel against, then you don't know what they are. So, I'm not saying you have to be uber strict, but giving a child boundaries makes them firstly learn respect for them.
Yep.
And secondly, helps them to be able to learn either to resist in a way or to be able to bend the rule, like whatever it is. Like that's what you do in your teenage years. You learn how to play with fire.
And navigating and understanding facial expressions, tones of voice, the risk versus reward, like all of that's part of it as well.
And what that does is grow you into a functional adult so that when you're in the real world...
socialized adult.
Correct. That's that's where I was going with it.
Yeah.
You understand that, your family dynamic might be totally different to the real world and you get hit with a reality check, which is why so many Gen Zs are starting to freak out about their employer and things like that. Because
they go to work and they're actually held to a standard.
Yeah.
You can't hold me accountable. Yes, I can. I'm your boss.
But further to that, I get all that to a degree, and then on the flip side, why do you think your self-esteem's in the toilet?
Yeah.
You don't even respect yourself.
Yeah, you got nothing to be proud of.
Yeah. The reason you end up like a purple pingers or something like that is because you have no boundaries. You have no discipline.
Well, isn't he a trust fund baby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've survived another episode and you're still here watching. So at this point, you should probably go and subscribe. And if you don't, you are going to be at the wrath of Spicy Carls. And whilst you're there, empty your pockets. There's a buy us a coffee button and would really appreciate it so that I can show up every day and just make Topher's life an absolute living hell. Much appreciated.